Hey everyone, Mr. Sugeno here. In today's video, we're going to look at a long-term review of the Moga Hero Power. Let's get started. Alright, so here's my Moga Hero. I've had this for the better part of a year and I use it on almost a daily basis. I rotate between this one and the 8-bit dough on my morning commute to and from work. It usually just depends on the type of game that I play. If I need a second analog stick, then this is the one. For example, an N64 game. For almost everything else, I can get away with the 8-bit dough. That being said, this is still a pretty good controller. My opinions of it from my initial review, which I'll link to, still remain generally the same. The battery on this is massive, so you rarely have to recharge it. It holds a charge for an incredibly long period of time. The Bluetooth connectivity is still awesome. And again, when I play this, I just switch it over into B mode. A mode is the Moga mode for use. I think it's with the Moga app or whatever, but to be honest, all you have to do is just flip it into B if you have an Android device, and it connects right into your Bluetooth. So it's honestly very painless. You just flick it over to B, make sure Bluetooth is on your phone, and it will pair. All the emulators that I've used with it recognize the Moga controller with no issues. And that I'll also leave a link to the description of the emulators that I use on Android. Now, I was worried initially about this, I guess you could call it clip, to clip the phone into. But it's held up very well over the year. It's still a little floppy because it doesn't lock into place. It's more of a soft lock where it clicks, but it's not, I wish it would have had a button or something to actually lock the hinge. So it still flops around a little bit, but not too bad. The spring is still incredibly good. My phone does not fall out. It's not as strong as the extender on the 8-bit dough, but this spring is very strong. The tape, whatever this stuff is, the spongy tapey stuff that holds your phone in, is still intact and hasn't peeled away. The D-pad, it's still awful like it was day one. I really don't like it. I wish they would have redesigned this a little bit. But hey, at least there is a D-pad. The buttons are all still very clicky and very responsive. The shoulder buttons still work incredibly well. The triggers, despite them being very mushy, I think I compared it to pressing like a button into a sponge. That's how it kind of feels. They feel really weird, but they still function extremely well. I thought these would be one of the first things to go in the controller, but they didn't. Everything is held up very well. The only issue I have with this controller are with the control sticks. So while they are very responsive, I find them very good. They still click. Everything still functions on them. The only issue that I have is if I'll bring it in closer here, and you can see the grip has actually worn away a little bit on this side and on the main control stick as well. Now the issue with that is that when I'm playing games, it's very easy for my thumb to slip off. There's not much anymore for my thumb to grip onto. So for example, if I'm playing a racing game and I'm making a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn, right's a little easier because I can just use the edge and press against. But if I'm making a left-hand turn, sometimes I'll slip. And that's just because the controller has worn down. So I will say it is a bit of a shortcoming. On this controller, the Moga Hero Power, I believe, has a different style of joystick on it, so it doesn't matter on that one. But on this one, there is no little outer ridge to kind of catch your finger, so it just slips. That being said, there probably are ways, if you know a way to reintroduce more grip on these things, please let me know in the comments. That'd be nice to know. But for the time being, I think I'm going to have to try something, whether it's some sort of adhesive or something on the top, just to provide some extra grip. Because right now, the thumbstick is very I would say it's almost unusable because it does slip so easy. You know, if you're just going right, up, down is fine. It's just that left, and unless you use the outer ridges, but if you're trying to use the actual grip for your thumb, you're going to have a tough time on this controller. So that being said, it has held up well over the year. All the buttons still work. Everything still works. The D-pad's still awful. The buttons are still mushy here. The only thing that I would recommend against is if you use control stick heavy games. With this one, it may wear down over a while, as mine did. And that's all I've got today. I will say this is still an average controller. I would say there are better options out there. So if you find this one at a good price, I'd recommend it. If you find it for a high price, I would advise against it. So I probably, revising my opinion, probably wouldn't want to pay more than maybe $25 to $30 for one of these. Anything more than that, and I think you might want to look at some alternatives. But for battery life and for actual quality of the controller, besides the wearing out of the control stick, this thing is pretty good. That's all I've got today. Thanks everyone. Take care.